a survival game with some of the most annoying PvP, glitch-festy PvE, and release dates you can guarantee will be pushed until the 7th extinction. And it's very, very addicting. Now, I do want to say before we get into this that I strictly play solo or with small friend groups, and I rarely ever touch PvP or officials. Now, having said that, if you don't already know, which I'm sure you do, Ark Survival Evolved was a game released in 2015 in early access and became wildly popular by its full release in 2017. And along that were bugs. Tons and tons of bugs. And I mean that literally. But we're not talking about Ark Survival Evolved today. We're talking about Ark Survival Ascended, which is that amazing glitchy game remade or remastered in Unreal 5. And it was made early access again, which I read was somewhat of a controversy online with a few posts about it, but I didn't really see it because to me, all it did was make a $70 to $60 game, $40 for me. And I'm sure they get some leeway with like legal crap or something down the road. Maybe, I don't know, maybe there's some scummy practice. I'm sure there are, knowing gaming these days, but I don't know it. So I personally saw it as a pro that it was in early access because, well, $40. But if I'm wrong, you can correct me down in the comments. But I just, as of now, don't really see any problem with it. But moving away from that to the more important problem, which was the server hosting problem. I say was because getting far in Ark in any capacity to review it takes, well, 150 hours. It takes a while, okay? Anyways, you had to pay for the private use of dedicated servers. But that's not how it always worked. In Ark Survival Evolved, you could either buy them from the official source like Nitrodo, or host your own private servers via your own PC, or get them from a third-party seller that was doing the same. But with the release of Ascended, your only option was to go with Nitrodo. You couldn't host your own cluster or sell your own servers. Now, much of that has been walked back because this video took me far too long to make, and now you can host your own, but you can't sell them out like you once did. Still anti-consumer, but a bit better for smaller tribes and groups. But with the glaring problems out of the way, how is the game? Well, it's Ark. Now, that's not a bad thing. Ark is, in my opinion, the greatest game, but I'm not blind to its flaws and jank, and like Ark Survival Evolved, Ark Ascended is glitchy. Very glitchy, but definitely not as glitchy as the beginning of Ark's early access journey before. I mean, you don't have veritable avalanches of spiders and centipede orgies falling out of caves, or being completely deadlocked game overed in a cave, or having artifacts playing hooky and screwing you off from beating the game. Look, caves were a problem back then. Like 90% of the glitches originated from caves. But that was the price of being a fan of Ark in those early days. What you do get is visual glitches that don't last long, or the occasional clipping of your legs and armor as you run down a hill or go too fast, or the very rare one of dinos locking into place as you whack them to death. And then you have the more common one where trilobites, if you kill them near the top of the ocean, they will float up and you won't be able to hit them. It's a weird hitbox glitch, but once again, isn't that annoying. And you will have the occasional dino being wacky and running up the side of the wall when you're fighting it, or something like that. And that's a cave glitch. That's a freaking cave glitch. I thought we were over this. I could never replicate it though. It only happened in that one instance. But if I was on official, well... Something else I did notice was anytime you leave a tame in a cave and leave far out of render distance, they kind of just phase through the floor. Now, I think this only works in single player because I'm pretty sure caves work entirely different in official. But this does technically save your tame while you're away respawning, and gives you the perfectly fine excuse to type the magical word ghost into the admin commands to save your now unscathed dino. Hey now, you're not a cheater if the game cheated you, you're just an opportunist.
I am not a crook.
Which, by the way, if you plan to play single player, the admin panel will be your best friend, namely Ghost, Fly, Walk, and God when you encounter glitches that you would otherwise not be able to fix, but since you have the admin panel, you can. And commands are essentially just cheat codes if you couldn't already tell, and these are some of the best ones. All you have to do is push, I think, tab I don't really remember. I changed it around a lot, so I could be wrong about that. But it'll open the admin panel, and all you have to do is type them in to get the effect and quit or retype them in if you don't want the effect or want it gone. Which brings me to another thing. I actually have to turn my clouds off via commands to reach 30 frames in the graphics you've been seeing. Now, I will say I do have an underpowered PC for the requirements that it says I should have, but I honestly think that might be a con in of itself because I can run Baldur's Gate at 60 frames pretty smoothly without too much of a hiccup, but I'm not PC savvy enough to say if it's not optimized, but I am ARC savvy enough to say that it probably isn't, knowing their past records. I promise, I love the game. It's just complicated. But despite it all, the glitches, the bugs, the problems, the controversies, I do love it. Everything's updated, the map looks way better, and there is so much to love about it if you love the original ARC. Like this awesome change to a common starting area that was probably a lot of people's first thatch hut. Or the better movement and animations I was very surprised to see when I booted it up. And dinos even eat sometimes now. There are also so many new improvements to the map that make it flow so much better than before, like these simple land bridges or openings in rocks. And then there's the overhauled areas like this place, which just used to be a pond in a forest near a cliffside, but now it's turned into a whole pocketed cliff with a pond, which may sound like nothing, but it looks awesome and was actually where I decided to build my house. Or then there's this place that finally added a redwood tree that's somewhat out of the redwood. It's still close to it, but I always wanted an area that wasn't completely engrossed in the redwood, like biome, that was kind of sort of out of the way, but you didn't have to deal with bylaws and all that annoying stuff there. And they finally added it, and it's in a pretty cool little, like, uplifted area that I honestly contemplated building my house in too. And then there's the avalanche and the snowy biome that you used to just look at once and forget about, and now it's turned into a sprawling canyon. Even the regular swamps I'm now tempted to set up in because they're more diverse and not just the same landscape copy and pasted over and over. There are just so many tiny improvements that I can't help but love it. And I know some people joked about it being a scam. I even did too, because I mean, I honestly didn't think the game was going to come out with how many times it was pushed and with the no footage of it until like the release day. But for someone that plays the game like yearly, it's fantastic. And I honestly can't wait to see what they do with Scorched Earth and Extinction, my favorite maps from the original ARC, which brings me to another small, tiny improvement, which are the guns. They're tiny and subtle, with it mostly being tiny parts added and indents that make it look like it can be taken apart and cleaned, but they make them look so much better, like the assault rifle. The only one I'm not too big of a fan of is the pistol, which makes it now look like just a regular Glock, when before it was probably one of my favorite design pistols in any game. And they even upgraded the crafting benches. The mortar and pestle now looks way better, and the grill looks like an actual grill rather than a Minecraft oven, which I haven't even gotten started on building, which is probably one of the most overhauled things aside from the map. You ever windows, doors, double doors, and walls? Well, they're not separate pieces anymore, they're all one. Now they're all just one building piece you cycle between with R, and you push Q if you want to disengage the snapping to place it however you want. Which took me an embarrassing amount of time to figure out that that's a Q and not a magnifying glass. I'm not the only one that thought that, right? Right?
So he's an idiot.
And that's largely how all building works now. There's no more variations of left and right, they're all just one piece you cycle between. Even irrigation and electricity work like that now, and it is so much better. But that's not even the greatest thing. The AI is. It no longer is as dumb as a bag of bricks. They don't act like a fresh lobotomy patient anymore, and you no longer have to hold their hand through a force so they don't get stuck on a twig or a pebble. But that does work the other way around now, too. So you are no longer God himself when you stand on a rock and trank a dino. They'll try and find a way around that rock or just run away entirely if they can't get to you. Another small change that made me laugh a lot for some reason when I saw it was raptors now look like roided up beefy guys. I don't know why, but their necks are like massive now, and I think Rexes have bigger necks too, but it's a lot less noticeable, and I think their like face is sleeker. But Raptors look like they've been binging steroids since the game was announced. And the final new thing that I can think of that really amazed me when I first saw it was the ocean. It has been revamped to add a lot of new intricate like tunnels and pillars and ridges that make it look less lifeless as it did before. And they even added a new foliage that is everywhere, and some of it's luminescent, and it does though give me anxiety a lot of the time when I see it from the corner of my eye. You know if you've played Ark before, the fear of the ocean. You know. Now, there is one final thing that I think, in my opinion, makes it entirely worth it without a shadow of a doubt, and that is the fact that you can be a caked up, roided up dwarf. I mean, look at that butt. Stop it. Tell me you don't want to buy the game after seeing that. You cannot tell me you don't want to buy this game after seeing that. That is the best thing I have seen in a while. But anyways, so all in all, I really like it. It's Ark, but better. And I really do think it can grow into something even greater than the original Ark if they keep optimizing it, listening to the community, and adding the maps. So do I think it was worth the $40 I spent? Yes. Do I think you should go out and get it? Kind of. If you've played Ark before and loved it, you'll most likely love this too. But if you haven't, you might want to wait a bit for some of the kinks to be ironed out and to be a bit more optimized, and maybe even have some of the older maps added. But I still say you should buy it now because I'm completely and utterly biased towards Ark. But anyways, I think it's about time I go and finally beat Baldur's Gate. So, bye.